Hey, you too. Welcome back to my channel. This is Nathan Daley. You guys know I'm your law enforcement translator. I'm here to give you some update. We're going to do a video in reference to this Sunrise Police Sergeant, Sunrise Police Department. If you guys haven't heard, it was an incident that occurred where a supervisor was trying to, I guess, potentially pepper spray a gentleman who was in handcuffs in the backseat of a patrol car, and he was stopped by another officer, his subordinate. She pulled him off, and he got upset, and then he went for her neck and he pushed her towards the car. So the police chief from Sunrise Police Department, he released a video. Well, the video doesn't have any audio, so we don't really know what the conversation was. So someone that brought it to my attention, I did hear about it go around a few days ago, and so I want to discuss it to kind of give you guys some insight. This is this is the purpose of the channel, you guys. So I'm going to break down what I observed in that video, what I think. We're going to speculate a little bit because it's hard to say what the conversation was. Obviously, we can't see anything. Correction, we can't hear anything. So anyways, before I get into that, let me give a special shout out to my subscribers. You guys, thank you so much for joining the channel. Welcome to this channel. If you're new here for the first time, please like this video or dislike if you don't like the content. If you like what you see in this content, please hit the subscribe button. Would love to have you a part of this channel. If you want to join the channel and become one of my investigators, by all means, join the channel. And with that being said, you guys, let's talk about the incident. For those who haven't seen the actual video, I will play it on here just so you can kind of get an understanding of what we're talking about. So I'm gonna go to the video, I'm gonna play it, and then I'm gonna break it down for you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and let me drop myself down. There we go. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Listen, I don't know what the circumstances are. Apparently the suspect was battering people. He was assaulting people in that area within the community. They said several people. I don't know to what extent. They didn't really go into any details from the media, but he was arrested and he was placed in the vehicle. You'll see the officers by the patrol car, and we're going to go and play it.
That strip. They say Jean-Bernard Similian battered several people and were trying to place them in a patrol car. According to Sunrise Police Chief Anthony Rosa, Similian was resisting officers. He goes on to say in a written statement, once the suspect was inside the patrol vehicle, the sergeant approached and engaged in a verbal altercation with the suspect in a manner that I feel was inappropriate and unprofessional. The supervisor escalated the encounter instead of de-escalating an emotionally charged situation. Rosa also says while speaking to the suspect, the sergeant is seen holding his can of pepper spray, but doesn't use it. That's when a nearby officer who was concerned with things escalating further intervened. You can see her running to police, grabbing him by his belt, pulling him backwards. He then turns and aggressively grabs her by the neck while pushing her backwards. Sergeant Police is then seen on video going back to the squad car, slams the door before pointing, yelling back at the officer who was trying to de-escalate the situation. Chief Rosa says he's proud of the officer who was trying to intervene, praising her good leadership during a tense situation.
We sent a letter to Chief Rosa.
There were rumors, I won't say rumors, a lot of people were saying that the sergeant actually choked her. Now, obviously, he did not choke her, but he did put his hands on her inappropriately, right? That's definitely an issue. So, but what happened? What happened? Let's break down what took place, you guys. A couple issues here. One, meaning that the first immediate issue that I recognize that's a supervisor. That's a supervisor who lost control of his temper. Now, we don't really know what was said, obviously, because we can't hear anything, but let's take what we can see from face value. There's a suspect who was resisting arrest initially, but then he's placed in handcuffs and he's placed in the back of the car. What we see him cooperating. What we don't know is what the words. Listen, you guys, words have power. And if you're not in a place of peace within yourself as an officer, those words will get to you. Listen, I'm not going to lie. There have been a few people in my 13 years in this profession where their words have got to me, where I actually lost control of my emotions and also said things verbally. I allowed someone to bait me into a verbal argument, a verbal dispute when it was unnecessary. When people are going to jail and they're upset, or you've ruined their day, you've potentially may have ruined, or I won't say ruined their life, they ruined their life, but you've pretty much are bringing them to this place of accountability. Some people are going to jail. Some people are going to prison for a very long time. All they have is their words at that point. And if you're not careful, you allow those words to penetrate you and then also get you to act out of character. We don't know what the suspect did, right? We don't know. And regardless of what the suspect did, it doesn't justify any excessive force. So we have to be clear on that. Even as officers, I recognize that. I told a story a long time ago in a previous video. What was I discussing? I had a coworker during an incident while I was working a burglary suppression task force in my department. The suspect ended up, while after we chased him down, we got him in handcuffs. He was being very vocal. He was being very rude. He was being very disrespectful to the officer. We had him in handcuffs. All the insults and all the insults you can think of, he was saying. It wasn't bothering any of us, but it bothered one of my coworkers, and he ended up having a verbal exchange with him, a constant verbal exchange with him, and he got under his skin. The suspect ended up spitting in my partner's face. My partner then, as a knee-jerk reaction, hauled off and punched him directly in his face and dropped him on the ground. And we all looked, we're like, dude, you can't do that. He's in handcuffs. He's not assaulting. He's not a threat. You can't just can't do it, right? We picked the suspect off the ground. His mouth is bleeding. My partner, we go push him off to the side. Hey, man, go cool off. You need to cool off. Well, we have to report it. We have to report it. No one's trying to cover anything up. That's not how we operated. Hey, we got to let the supervisor know you punched the suspect. We reported the supervisor showed up on the scene. He had to do a use of force report, meaning a report saying the officer used force against the suspect, and then also say it was unnecessary. It was unjustified. Well, what happened to the officer? The officer admitted it, obviously. There's like 4 or 5 witnesses. No one's trying to cover anything up. What happened to the officer? The officer was fired, you guys. Listen, a lot of people talk about officers don't hold other officers accountable. That's not true, right? You don't see it. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. What do we know, though? We know that there are officers who do cover up mistakes, who do cover up excessive force. That's not everybody, you guys, right? That's not everybody. So in this case, or I'll say in my situation with a friend, with a coworker, he was fired. They released him of his duty. And so they recognize that, hey, we can't keep you on the force. That's a violation of several policies that we have. You cannot assault a person in handcuffs. You can't assault a person who's not an active threat. Active. Though we know words have power, there's no justification for assaulting someone over words. So in this case right here, what do we see? We see a supervisor who was engaging in a verbal altercation with the suspect who's already detained. He's already in handcuffs. He's no threat to anybody. The supervisor lost his cool. He takes out his pepper spray. And he possibly threatens to use it against the suspect for whatever reason. Listen, I get it. I understand, even though I don't agree with it. I understand because I did the job. I know how people can get under our skins, you guys. Listen, what's the problem with this profession that a lot of people don't like to admit? We're humans. We live a human experience. We're living a human experience wearing a uniform. A lot of people think we are trained to deal with verbal assaults, and we're really not, you guys. We're really not. The sergeant lost his cool. I won't even say allegedly, because the police chief also made a statement and said that what the supervisor did was inappropriate. Listen, you guys, I've had a supervisor calm me down. I've calmed a supervisor down before in the heat of a moment, watching a supervisor lose his cool. But it's not so much that you do it, it's how you do it, right? It's how you do it. Everything isn't so much the fact that you did it, it's how it's done. What is the issue here in this case with the Sunrise Police? Listen, when ego is involved, you guys, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. The sergeant, you could tell the sergeant lost his cool based on how he addressed his subordinate. Look how he addressed her. He turned around and immediately reached for her throat, reached for her neck, and he pushed her. He pushed her against the car. That's not appropriate. You're not supposed to put your hands on other officers. So did she stop something? We don't know what she stopped, right? Because we can't hear, right? We don't know. He had to have been out of control, especially for the police chief, to one, not allow the audio to be played on the video that he released. It had to have been bad. It had to be so bad that the chief was worried about the how the department would look, how that sound being played would reflect poorly on the department. So he's like, listen, give him the video, but mute it. What was he saying? I want to know. I want to know. Listen, you guys, I know there's some issues, right, when it comes to law enforcement and how law enforcement does their job with the citizens. There's a large group of this nation that's okay with law enforcement. There's segments of our community in this country that are not okay with it. The best way to solve and relieve these issues is transparency. So when you release a video and you mute the audio, it's not a good look. Look, I could be completely honest, you guys. Look, transparency is transparency. You can't be selective. Let the people hear what he said. Let the people hear what he said. I think it's important. So what's going to happen? I've heard some things about him being on desk duty. People don't like that. He's like, oh, okay, well, he did this, and he's getting paid. You guys, if an officer violates a policy, it still has to be investigated. That's just the standard on a lot of police departments. He did violate some things. I know the chief is aware. He might end up still getting fired. I don't think he will get fired. I think he'll be demoted, but he won't be fired for that. He'll be demoted though, but not fired, depending on what he said in that statement. Those rants that he made is definitely a demotable offense, but I don't see anything that he did that will cause him to get fired. You guys, I really don't. Let me play devil's advocate. He pushed the subordinate, the other officer, by the chest near her lapel. Some people said he choked her. You guys, he didn't choke her. I can play the video back if just to kind of run through it, but I didn't see a choke. I really didn't. Matter of fact, let's pull it up real quick. Let's see. Make it bigger. Did he choke her? No, I wouldn't say choke. He pushed her. He pushed her near her neck. He pushed her near her lapel. But I wouldn't. We hard pressed to say that he choked her. I don't agree with that. That's kind of what the running theme was when in this particular situation. No, there's definitely no choke. But he inappropriately addressed her, and essentially he assaulted the officer. Right? What's the issue here? Rank. Rank matters. Was she? The chief said, based on the circumstances, the chief seen the video, seen, heard the audio. The chief said that he's praising this officer for doing what she did. So obviously, there's some things that we don't know. So if the chief is co-signing her behavior, then her actions. Then I'm not going to question it. No place for me to question it. But what I think happened here is ego played a role in it, right? Why do I say that? Because now you have a supervisor who's like, how dare you tell me what to do? How dare you tell me what to do? When I had to actually, check a supervisor, it was more like, hey, I appreciate you calling me out. I appreciate you settling me down, but it was the way I did it. What could she have done? She's like, hey, pat him on the back. Hey, don't do it. Our cameras are on. Don't do that. It's going to be considered excessive. She could have spoken his ear, maybe, but maybe he was just that out of control, you guys. Who knows? How do I feel about the duty to, I guess you would say, interfere, right? If an officer is losing him or herself in the moment or in the process of using excessive force, what do I feel about that? Holding officers accountable who are present, who witness. I think it's a great idea. It puts that responsibility. Now, listen, it's always been like that. You know, when I started policing in the beginning, it was always like that. If you see an officer doing something crazy, you better say something, you better do something, right? Or you are equally just as responsible. You guys, listen, my department was different. You know, we had some very strict rules. I can't speak for all police departments, you guys. There's 18,000 of them. We don't know what their policies are. When I was policing, what was the thing? If you saw it and witnessed it, especially if you had more experience, you were obligated to say something. You were obligated to do something. So when I hear some departments not hold those things, I thought those things were I thought those things were uniform amongst all police departments. And it wasn't until I started doing the job that I realized that all police departments aren't created equal. All police departments aren't created equal, you guys. And that's something that we all have to understand. If there's something that's going on in one police department, we need to address that department as an isolated department and say, what are the rules? What are the policies that you guys are governing these officers by? So the whole idea that, hold officers accountable for other officers, I think it's great. Meaning that if you see something and you have a duty to intervene, I think you absolutely should. Absolutely should make some type of effort. I think it's a great policy. This is also why I was also very careful not to hang out with officers on the job who I felt didn't do their job properly. So if I felt like you were an imbecile officer, we wouldn't be doing calls together, because I can't then protect myself, you, and this other person. And then I have to look over my shoulder and worry whether or not you're going to be actually doing something legal or illegal. Like I can't. So I invested my time and energy with officers who had the same amount of, or looked at the same, or I would say had the same integrity that I had, the same values, right? The same moral judgment that I had. Those are the officers I surrounded myself by. Departments, I came from a big department. We had a lot of officers. And so, that's how I carried myself. I can't control other people. So that's my take on it, you guys. I don't think he's going to get fired. I don't believe he did anything based off of what I saw. Now, what was said is totally different. But based off what I saw, I don't see him being fired at all. I do see him being demoted because apparently to the chief is like, listen, he excited the situation. He added fuel to the situation. He exacerbated this whole thing, and it probably wasn't needed, right? So I don't see him getting fired. So anyways, you guys, let me know your thoughts with that. It's just a quick little video. I wanted to give you my insight on it. I'm very busy because I'm working on some interesting videos coming up. I am getting ready to post a video on the origins of policing because we had a great debate on that on my last live stream. And I'm going to bring some clarity to the discussion. So listen out for that video. And again, shout out to the winner of the giveaway, holiday giveaway. If you haven't checked that video out, please check out the OC spray. I would say the pepper spray video. That's the story of me and how I got sprayed with my own pepper spray. I think it's a very interesting story. It's a great video, you guys. I think you will enjoy it. So if you've missed it, I will put a link up here at the top for you to check it out. All right. So anyways, you guys, thank you again for your support. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. And with that, you guys, good night. God bless.